Hello, and a very good evening to all of you who are joining in or who'll watch it later. So, this is part of the series called as Alternate Ways of Connecting with Nature. And what we mean by that is usually there are certain known ways of connecting with nature. Most of it is intellectual, it is where we connect at a cognitive cerebral level. So, it could be ways where we are connecting with nature by knowing about the names of species of butterflies, birds, how they live, how they are connecting to nature themselves, and things like that, or even knowing maybe how they continue to survive, or maybe through photography, through various ways we all connect to nature, which could be intellectual. The whole purpose of this series is to just expand our own ways of connecting with nature, which could be non intellectual, it could be experiential, it could be immersive, it could be different ways. So, we started off with the first episode, which was my own experience of connecting with nature through meditation and different ways of meditating and how nature can support us in that. And today is the second episode. I'm very, very excited that it's going to be an interview by one of the people that I really enjoy talking to and connecting with. Her name is Manya, and Manya is a natural color artist, and she's one of the most genuine, down to earth person that I've connected with. I met her last year in one of her workshops that she was doing, and it was so much fun. I mean, I really felt like the child in me was born all over again when I was attending her workshop on creating natural colors with things that are available very easily. It was the start of the pandemic last year, and it was really fun to just work with vegetable peels and flowers, which was just abundantly available everywhere. So it was fun to attend her workshop, and since then I've been in touch with her. And it's a hobby of hers that turned into a passion, and now she really is all out sharing her knowledge and wisdom. So I'm going to invite Manya onto this interview so that we can get to learn also to how we can connect with nature through colors, through natural colors. And this is just going to be a short interview, getting to know her more. Hey, hi Manya.
Hi, hi Vaishnavi. I hope you can see me and hear me.
Yes, I can see you, and I can see the lovely colors behind you also.
Yeah.
The pink
So, you,
colors.
uh, so to everyone watching, you might have to excuse a few sounds from here and there, the neighborhood, but mostly good sounds. You'll hear birds, and there's some bunnies in the background. So hopefully, it's all good sounds. But once in a while, if you hear a child screaming, I can't do much about that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Human beings are also part of nature.
Yes.
It's completely fine. But I'm so excited to have you, Manya. It's really good fun to have you, and this is our first Insta live, so that's even more exciting to have you on board for that. So
Yes. Thank you so
yeah,
much for having me. I'm excited too.
yeah. So let's get to know you a little better, Manya. So Manya, if you could probably share what your connection with nature is, that'll be a great start.
Sure. So I think my connection to nature started from a young age, mostly thanks to my mother, because every house we've lived in, she's made sure that it's the house in that neighborhood with the most number of plants. There's so much green always. And I just remember seeing that, and I would ask her, how come you spend so much time with plants? Sometimes it would feel like she spent more time with her plants than with me. But I could see how she would connect with them. She would talk to them and watch them grow. And I think that inspired me a lot. And as I start, and she also introduced me to painting and art. So I think as I started painting, also a lot of the things I painted would be nature inspired, just subconsciously. I would love drawing trees, just all different kinds of trees. It's almost like I was obsessed and I couldn't draw any other subject. So I would draw a lot of people and trees and leaves and flowers. And I just got into it that way. And a lot of it is from the surrounding, observing, and I realized that my connection also deepened when I studied abroad. So I studied in the US for my undergrad, and I realized that I was very fascinated by the change of seasons there. So here in India, we pretty much have summer and rainy season and a little bit of winter. At least where I'm from in Hyderabad, it's either hot or it's rainy or cold, right? So when I was in the US, I really enjoyed watching the leaves change colors and the concept of autumn and fall. All of that really got me so excited. I was like this child discovering so many magical things. So I wouldn't really stop and notice on the way to my classes. I would be late because I would be collecting these leaves, or I would just be so amazed at all of these things changing around me. Similarly with snow. So I think seeing all of these new things, at least in my adult life, or I guess I wasn't really an adult then, but as a teenager, also got me really excited. And it's always been a theme for me, like being inspired by nature. And even when I go for a walk, I always come back with a lot of treasures. And to other people, it may seem like junk, but it's like I know why I felt connected to a certain thing. Maybe the form of a pod or the shape of a leaf or a color. I just love the idea of being able to preserve them in some way. And I think so many people before me have also done that through various techniques, whether it's pressing flowers or preserving them, fossilizing them in some way. It's been done, but I've found my own ways of doing it as well. And I think when I discovered natural colors, it became a whole different level of making that interest come to life.
Yeah. So sounds like your connection with nature is mostly through colors, right? I
Yes.
mean, of course, that's not rocket science, knowing what you do,
Yes.
but it seems like even you noticing nature's seasons, which is something also very important because most of us take it for granted, right? We just see, we may most often actually crib, so when it's hot, we're like, oh gosh, when will it start raining? And when it starts raining, when will it stop? So we kind of either crib or take it for granted. But what I hear you say is that you really cherished and you really noticed these seasons, fully, even though it happened when you were abroad. And
Yes.
some of us probably do that, right? When it's raining, we really smell the earth and we really out there enjoying. I don't know, as kids, I remember we used to just run out and get wet, and
Yes.
that was so much fun. And now we crib about rains, but yeah, at that time it was so much fun. So yeah, actually, really cherishing the seasons is another way that you connected with nature consciously, and that kind of maybe led you to where you are right now in some ways, right? I mean, the stepping stones. So yeah, so for that, would love to know what exactly you do with nature and natural colors for people to know what way they could connect with nature and colors.
Sure. I really feel there's something for everyone. I think even for a small child to someone who's reached retirement age, I think there's something for everyone in nature. And my association with it has been through color. But I think the way it started off was around 2 years ago when I had just taken a break from my work and I just was looking for something. Like you said, it started off as a hobby, something I was excited to do. And since I anyway go on these walks and collect these things, I figured, okay, maybe I should try and make something out of it. And I had discovered natural dyeing. I read about a few people doing it online. And I just started messing around with it, trying to apply it to my clothes. So my journey really started with fabrics. So I started making things for myself, upcycling, did as much research as I could, met a few people who could guide me as well. And then I realized that, okay, maybe there is something here. It could be more than a hobby. But I think when it really clicked for me is when I was able to connect it to various aspects of life. Because as long as I was working with fabrics, it kind of made sense for maybe people who like making their own clothes or fashion designers and a particular group of people. And color, natural colors, natural dyes and textiles has been around for thousands of years. But the way I really connected with it is, I remember we first made 2 years ago, I made holy colors with my niece and nephew, just using haldi in the kitchen, beetroot. So I was actually starting to think, once I got introduced to this concept of natural dye, I started thinking, why not? Why isn't this there in every aspect of our life? So it started with that. Then I went into a lot of things inspired by personal experiences. Again, food coloring. We had made a cake for my niece's birthday and we used artificial colors. This was 3 years ago. And then the year after that, I started thinking, okay, why did we have to use that? Because at the end of making the cake and icing it, and I remember I was the one who drew a unicorn on it because she wanted a rainbow cake. But I realized by the end of it that I was so sick of looking at those colors. They seemed so fake, and I didn't even know what it would do to us. So I just started thinking all these dots started connecting, and I thought, why can't we make it something which is more practical and usable for everyone, right? So not everyone may want to dye their clothes, but maybe people may want to connect with it in a different way, more accessible. So I started looking at food, more fun activities. So for me, it became a way of trying to bring in nature and color into everyday life, and how it every day you can find a little bit of magic around you. And that's how I started seeing it. Mostly I would notice these things, and then when I started sharing it with my niece and nephew and just the people around me, I saw them getting excited as well. And this was around the lockdown last year, because we were all at home and didn't have a lot of things to do. And when they discovered these things along with me, I could see they were having a lot of fun. And that's when it became very clear to me that, okay, there must be other people in the world who would maybe enjoy doing something like this. And it just kind of all fell into place when I started seeing how I can make that more accessible to people. And that's how I created my first online course, which I called Magic of Natural Colors, which you also were a part of. So a lot of it was just personal experience inspired by the people and things around me. So even while making the course, I didn't buy anything. I started using what was around me. I just made a very makeshift arrangement to shoot videos. It was all very hacky. It's like the typical Indian jugaad that I did to make it come to life. But the way it resonated with people, that gave me a lot of hope and confidence that, okay, this is really what we need right now, some way of noticing what's already available to us, making use of it, instead of feeling like we're limited or we're trapped at home. And that's not a nice feeling to have for anyone. So making the most of lockdown days kind of became the theme of the class, and a lot of people across the world started enjoying it. So I think that gave me a lot of confidence. Then I started developing courses in each topic. So then I took it further, making something just for paints, just for food, so that bakers could use it. And sorry, my dog is here. She's maybe coming to participate. So, so a lot of interest started coming up in specific areas, and then I started researching more and more in each area. So a lot of people do ask if I have a degree in this, or how did I start doing this, right? And I feel like nobody has a degree in natural dyes anywhere in the world, so specifically. But it's just out of interest and seeing what people are curious about that led me down various paths. But in some way, they're all connected, because the kind of methods we use for cooking, the kind of methods we use for painting, for fabric dyeing, they have some similarity. But then when it comes to the medium, it changes. So to me, it's like a language. Like if the colors are the language, then these are all different dialects. So it still somehow connects and makes sense. And I like that I'm able to connect with a lot of different people, and I get so many ideas just by interacting with them.
Wow, that's so interesting. I mean, what really caught my attention when you're talking about is it's kind of like a win-win situation happening, right? I mean, we are using less artificial stuff, more of natural stuff, and things which probably would just go into the dustbin. Probably those are also utilized to make something and create something, like the word that you used was magic, it
Yes.
really feels like magic. Something that was, just a vegetable peel, like a beetroot peel you throw off, and then that becomes like this nice, beautiful pink and red color that you could use to make colored papers and clothes. And, so it's a kind of win-win situation for nature as well as for us. And another thing that really struck me was it's not new. It's not that we are
Yeah.
discovering this right now. It was there in the ancient times. This is how they actually lived. And
Yeah.
that's what Nature Connections also keeps saying. It's not that what work we're doing is rocket science or it's something new, but we're just kind of going back to the cycle of how things were earlier. And somewhere down the line, the disconnection happened, right, with the use of colors and it just simple way of living kind of got
Yeah.
disconnected. And I see you bringing that back so beautifully. And it just makes it so simple. Like even when I see your posts or when I see your classes, it just feels like, wow, this is something that anyone can do, right? Like you said, children come for it, elderly people come for it, and it's just so simple. And I'm wondering why more people don't do it, right? It's such an easy way and a fantastic way to connect with nature. And I
Yes.
really like wish more and more people can do this. It's a lot of fun, and b yeah, it's like a win-win situation. Like I said, everyone is enjoying, and what a great way to connect with nature. And I think colors is something that everyone can resonate with, and everyone needs it, especially during times like these, right? When there's lockdown happening, pandemic going on, I think colors can really bring in that joy. Like Nidhi says, it makes it look so easy and simple, and you really are doing a brilliant job. So a lot of people are appreciating, and what I also love is you do it with a lot of authenticity, and not from this perspective of I know it all, but from a perspective of I derive joy from it, and how could I pass on that joy to others? That's about it. How many people come, it's something totally, it doesn't matter. It's all about just spreading the joy, the happiness of connecting to nature through colors. And I think that's, yeah, I mean, that's, I think, a wonderful way to live your life. You've got a good job, by the way.
Thank you. I know, I feel like I am very lucky because every day I get to wake up excited. I mean, some days, of course, I also have down days, but I think majority of the time I know that I'm very lucky to be in a position where I do something that I love and I get paid for it and people are enjoying it. It's like the holy trifecta. I feel like, I've it's not like I don't feel like I've accomplished something, but definitely this is something I had been searching for my whole life since a teenager. I guess I started thinking about it very early on. It's like, how do I find that one thing which keeps me excited all the time? And this is something where, and I think you can relate because there's always more to discover in nature, more things that we can keep seeking and keep finding answers when you look out into nature. And this is something I learned from my grandfather as well. He was a forest officer and he was into teak plantations. And every morning for about 3-4 hours, he would just be out in the fields. He would be observing. He would be out with his camera. But even more than the camera, his eyes were so sharp. He would just know how much a plant grew each day, what was wrong with it. And he just had this amazing lens for knowing and how to diagnose. We called him a plant doctor because he could diagnose what was happening to these plants and just through the sheer power of observation, and he grew them in a very natural way. So even seeing him work was very inspiring. And I think for me, what's been really amazing is that my powers of observation have improved since I started working with natural materials. And every time I go out, I am just so present to what is around me. So it's not just a walk, I'm not doing it just for exercise, but there's a lot of involvement. So, in a way, even without trying, it became a meditative activity and a practice. So, without even knowing it, I was experiencing all these benefits, all these healing therapeutic benefits. And once I realized that, oh, this is what it actually is, and then I thought, okay, maybe other people could also use this. And like you said, it is from that space of I am experiencing so many benefits from this, and other people can as well, as long as that there is little bit of openness, right? Because there are a lot of preconceived notions about natural dyes, and the how they can be used, the longevity, and lot of constraints that we start to think even before exploring. So that to me is the first barrier to jump. But once we cross that barrier, I find that people do fall in love with it. And it is in a way connecting to our roots, but not to
Yeah.
say that we need to live like how people did a century ago, but how can we adapt it to suit our current lifestyle. So what you said about the changing seasons also, it reminded me of something. Apparently back in the day, people used to actually have a color of the season. So for instance, in the spring, when flame of the forest or palash flowers were blooming, they would all wear clothes dyed with that color. So they also had their own fashion sense. Like the trending color would be the color of the season. And then in the next season, it would be whatever was blooming then. So they already had a sense of using, well, what we are calling as go local, eat local, buy local, shop local, what we are trying to do locally now, that's always been the case, at least in, back in the day where they didn't really have a lot of options, but they made the most of what was locally grown, locally available, but at the same time, taking it, sourcing it very responsibly from nature, not over exploiting. So that to me seems like just a wise way to live. It's not that it's better or worse, but hey, it's resource efficient, it's energy efficient. You're being smart about it, so why not?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just, I think people were so in tune with nature at that time. Like I remember someone sharing about how even monks who lived in the forest mostly used to have jackfruit trees around, and the bark of the jackfruit tree, if you remove it, it's a little orange in color, and that's why their robes would be orange in color because they would dye it in. Hi, sorry, I got a call and it got cut.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
That is
just saying how,
yes.
yeah, monks in the forest were able to see each other because of the orange robes. You know, it was just a simple way. And when you were talking about how you would walk into the park and just observe, you know, not from knowing the name of the flower, but just observing the flower. And I remember reading somewhere a long time back about how did people come to know which plant to eat or which fruit to eat? They used to say that those plants and fruits would actually tell the human, saying that, hey, listen, you could actually eat me for if you have a cold, you know, you go ahead and
Wow.
take it up and things like that. You know? So it looks like the flowers and whatever you see and observe is probably unknowingly speaking to you and saying, hey, come on, you know, use me to make colors, you know, and have fun and spread that joy, you know. That probably comes with that deep connection of listening to nature, which is how probably people lived in the ancient world, I'm guessing. So,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
cool.
I never thought of that possibility because I did wonder how did people know because they knew what to eat, what not to eat. And
Exactly.
interestingly, a lot of the plants that were taken for dyes also have medicinal properties. So whether it was worn as a robe or used as a powder or a bath scrub or anything, it was never just for the color. It always had a healing property as well. So when you wear the robes, it's like your second skin is also passing on some healing benefits to your skin because the skin is porous, it's breathing. So even the medicinal dye. So for example, if this was dyed with neem or haldi, the benefits from that would also be passed on to your skin and help you heal. So this is a sister science of Ayurveda called Ayurvastra, and it's still being practiced by a few communities in India. So I always did wonder, did people have to do a lot of trial and error, or how did they know what worked and what didn't work and what to use when? And they were so adept at it. And even now, I remember we had this person working with us last year. She's from the Northeast, and she knew exactly which weeds to eat. We were talking about weeds earlier today. She knew, well, they're not weeds for their community. They just go around and know exactly what to pluck, and they put it in their cooking, and it tastes amazing. So it's like this knowledge that they have, which is not a studied knowledge. It's just a known, more intuitive kind of knowing which they have just by living around those plants. So what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and it seems almost magical because we are not used to connecting that way. So even if someone is really capable of doing that, it just sounds incredible in a good way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It doesn't sound logical, but then it
Yeah,
sounds magical, right? I mean,
yeah,
even I used to wonder because you can't do trial and error with something that's poisonous, right? I
yeah.
mean, you eat poison, you're gone. So how do they know that, you know, this particular leaf is poisonous or this is something that they can't eat? So even I kind of found it fascinating, saying that, oh yeah, maybe, you know, that's how they live. That's how maybe we know whether to eat coriander or not, or, you know, how palak should be
Yeah.
used and things like that. It's like over a period of time. But the first people who used it or started eating it, there must have been some connection, right, which said, go ahead, eat us. You know, and there was another curious thing that I found when you were saying about how even sometimes you feel down and you do use colors. And I don't have much of an idea, but I know about something called as color therapy and people using colors to
Yes.
I don't know, just heal, like you're saying, you know, even in the colors that they're wearing. So, is there something that you've experienced where different colors evoked maybe different sense of emotion for you, or it helped or didn't help, or, you know, made things worse or made things better for you at that moment?
Certainly. I think when I was going through a rough patch, I just instinctively wanted a lot of yellow around me. It just became my favorite color, you know. Though I was working with a lot of different colors, I was drawn to yellow a lot. So everything from I was dyeing all my clothes yellow, I made my entire bedroom yellow, and then I didn't even notice it, but someone who was doing a video call with me said, "Oh wow, you have a lot of yellow around you." And that certainly helps. So there is color psychology, it's proven, and it's interesting because color, um, it's interesting, especially in the Indian context. If you look at color or varna, it's called varna or also called raga, but we know raga as the musical connotation, the Sanskrit root. But some in many words, it's a synonym. Color and musical notes have this are the same thing, because each, if you look at it, even the seven chakras have colors associated with them. Even the seven musical notes have a color associated with them. Each chakra is supposed to be associated with a certain musical note. So it's all interconnected and interrelated in a way that we today have just fragmented it, but it's all very connected. And the color has a certain therapeutic value, just like music has a certain therapeutic value, which is hard to describe. It has to be experienced. So you, even in music, they say that a certain raga is nice for the mornings. A certain raga is known to cure a certain disease or help with a certain ailment because of the composition of it. Similarly, the
Right.
color and the wavelength and the way in which we perceive it can have a therapeutic effect. So you know that blue is a cooling color, and yellow is more warm. So especially when things can feel gloomy, like when you feel like things are gloomy, yellow is something that quite literally lifts up spirits. Whereas red is more about action and could also be anger and power. It depends on the perception. But these things definitely have their role in shaping our experience, shaping our living environment. At a personal level, I still feel like I'm in the yellow phase because I have to generate that optimism around me till I get there myself.
Happiness.
Yeah.
True. And it just made me realize how, even in fashion, right, we would have these summer colors and winter colors. And so we are actually unknowingly connecting to colors, just that
Yeah.
maybe it's become artificial, right? You're talking about music. So it's almost like how it would be to listen to a music in a live concert versus how it would be listening through YouTube or through some other medium. It
Yes.
could be the same, but still the live part of music, the goosebumps that it might bring in when you watch it live, when you're listening to it live. I think the same thing with artificial colors and natural colors would probably do to us without actually knowing, right? So if we really use natural colors, I might be wearing this red color, but it may not have the same effect if, let's say, I'm wearing natural red color.
Yes.
Clothes made of naturals. I think it makes a lot of sense if we can just consciously be aware of connecting to nature through natural colors. I think that would be really amazing. Yeah, and I
It's
see that
also,
you, yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no, go on, go on. It's also.
It's also that you feel very different when you wear clothes dyed with natural ingredients, because they are known to have properties like they're UV light resistant, they actually absorb odors. So I have this one top that I've worn multiple times and it's made with dyed with haldi. And honestly, the smell of haldi has still not completely gone from it, and it's in a good way that it still smells really nice, and it has a cooling effect, just like when you apply haldi on your hands or feet for ceremonies, right? It has a cooling effect, and to this day, the cooling effect is still there when I wear it. So it actually makes you feel very different. So experientially, also you know that it is very different from wearing something which is synthetically dyed. So that's a really cool thing. Once people start using it, they get to feel the difference of it, that it is breathable and it actually does lift up your spirits in a way. We have a few
Wow.
comments. There's
Yeah, a
Iti.
lot of
Iti
comments.
is talking about, she says it's synchronicity.
Chakras.
She's painting chakras right now. Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah,
There
and
are a
just
few
like Kripa
other,
says, we all have that intuitive sense, right? That which is there, but the materialistic world is just losing the essence of it, like Kripa mentions. Absolutely right. I mean, the intuitive sense is kind of getting eroded right now, but at the same time, I see a lot of people across the world coming back to this essence and the intuition that we have and going beyond what logically makes sense. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this series of alternate ways of connecting to nature, because it's lost. I mean, the things that you're just sharing now, it just hit me that, when we talk about um, less of diseases and being healthier and all of it, we usually think of only food that we eat. But it is also
Yeah,
possible that what we are wearing could also be impactful, right? I mean, it
certainly,
could probably be going inside us. Yeah. So there are some
certainly.
questions also that are coming up. So what we'll do is we'll kind of start closing our conversation, and
Sure,
then we'll take up all the questions that are coming up.
sure.
Yeah, I also see a lot of courses that you're doing, and you're also doing a fundraiser for COVID relief right now. It's amazing to collaborate with you, but would love to hear more about it so others can also know if they would like to join and know more about natural colors to connect with nature.
Sure. So, as I said just a few minutes ago, there are so many applications for natural dyes. Whether you are into art, painting, or if you just want to explore it for fun as well, there are options for you. Or if you're into fashion design, there are options. If you're an artist who wants to take it up, who wants to maybe switch or even just dabble with natural colors and see how you feel, because there is a lot of awareness now increasingly about how much pollution the synthetic dyes and paints are creating. So, whatever your area of interest is, there is something available. So, I have courses in food coloring, also in how we can use natural colors on a daily basis for that magical play element for all ages, starting from age 3 and above. So, just below 3, I'm not too sure, because they definitely need adult supervision. But yeah, I've had even 2-year-olds play with it with their parents.
Wow.
And yeah, so there are courses for artists as well. There's one on watercolor paints that I offer with another artist. Her name is Suruchi, and she paints beautiful botanicals. So we teach you how to make colors from botanicals and kitchen waste, and then paint botanicals with it. And I have another class which I just launched called Earth Pigments. So it's going how you can find soils and rocks around you and convert them into paint and use it. So it's a way of connecting to your local landscape. And I have classes for more people, for people interested in textiles. I have classes on natural dyeing, eco printing, which is a form of capturing botanical imprints on fabrics. So there are various options for, depending on where you are in life right now and what calls out to you the most. There are also classes available on making your own rangoli colors, holy colors, which are more event specific if you're looking to make those kind of sustainable lifestyle shifts. So you can check them out all out from the link in my bio. And the one that I'm really looking forward to, which is coming starting this weekend, is the class that Vaishnavi, myself, and another friend Anisha are hosting together. It's called Find Your Calm, and we really felt like that was synchronicity happening for us, because it just connected. We were all, I think, feeling helpless about the current situation, feeling feeling like there is something we would like to do but not really sure what, because that the general anxiety, panic that's going around, we all feel it. But I think we have individually found our ways of connecting to nature, meditation, art, certain spiritual practices, but very connected to nature. That's what we had in common, and we were able to feel centered because of that, even though the outside situation is completely crazy. Not to say that it doesn't bother us or affect us, or we've reached some Zen state and become Buddhas, but at the same time, we've been able to find that little bit of peace in our everyday life by creating some time for ourselves where we can slow down and just go within, and also find that calm by connecting to nature. Because I think for a lot of people, just sitting and meditating doesn't seem easy, but using nature as a tool, nature as a medium or a channel to use that energy kind of made sense to us. So we created this program that we're calling Find Your Calm, because it, in this time where even every piece of news, every new social media update seems to be upsetting, we do need that time to clear out some of that, and just, I mean, call it a detox if you want, but it is a way for us to breathe again. We need to be able to breathe before we go out there. And even if you want to take some positive action, say you want to be able to help, or you want to be there for someone who's going through a tough time, we can't really do that if we are fully drained and depleted. It's just not going to happen. So we were looking at this as maybe a small way to help each other recharge, because even just planning the session, we all felt so energized, and putting it all together, bringing in our individual strengths and making it something which we feel would be really useful for anyone who's feeling stressed and anxious about the current situation, but not really knowing what to do or how to feel about it. It's not like you'll magically have an answer, but at least by, say, carving out those 30-40 minutes each day, and that's how we've designed it, 30 to 40 minutes each day for 8 days, we connect and we bond over some nature related activities, nature meditations, some practices to help us feel more grounded and centered and coming back to a space of calm each day. Hopefully it becomes a habit. Hopefully it doesn't end for us after 8 days, but it's a way for us to create that habit. So, we know that prioritizing our sanity and our sense of calm is really important now. So that's the one that I really would love everyone to check out, because even if you're not learning a new skill or whatever in terms of art or creativity, because some of us may not be in that mind space right now, that's completely fine. But coming to a place where we feel like, okay, I can handle what's going to come the next day. If we can reach there, we've achieved a lot on that given day. So that's really the objective behind Find Your Calm, to help us individually feel um, more able to take on what's coming.
I love the word that you use, recharge. I think that's something that all of us do need, and what better way than nature to recharge us. I think we all feel rejuvenated when we go out in nature, but we can't do that right now during the pandemic. So, like Iti is mentioning, the pandemic is actually making us connect to natural healing sciences even more, and that's so true, right? And Find Your Calm is one of those ways of exploring different ways of connecting to nature and finding your center through that medium. And the best part is Manya is also donating all of the amount that is collected through the courses to NGOs, which are, and 100%. So everything is donated to NGOs which are supporting COVID relief activities. In fact, she had a target of 2 lakhs, and I think she's already almost met all of it through her program so far. And Find Your Calm is probably one of the last programs to add. So if you do attend the workshop, and we will be giving recorded sessions also. So in case you can't come for the live session, you could continue doing it even after the program is over to find your calm. And I think again, this is a win-win situation. So while we are recharging ourselves, we are able to help others. And we are also donating to COVID relief activities, which is so much more needed right now. So the whole sense of helplessness that one might feel kind of gets eliminated. And I think that's a great way. So do check out her page and check out
I'll just add on the names of the organizations for those who are here, if it connects with them. So
the NGOs.
We're donating all of the proceeds from this program and all the other programs. I have around 7 different options available that people could sign up for. And the campaign, the fundraiser, is going on until this Saturday. And the class also starts on this Saturday. The organizations we are giving to are Hemkund Foundation. I've actually made a first donation today of 1 lakh rupees to Hemkund Foundation.
Congratulations.
Thanks to everyone who contributed. And the second organization we're looking at giving to is Mission Oxygen. So both are doing amazing work on the ground, providing oxygen cylinders, oxygen concentrators, really meeting the need of the hour and helping people breathe. So while we contribute, while you help yourself breathe and recharge in this space, hopefully we can also help other people breathe through the essential medical support they need right now.
Sounds like, you're really embodying the way nature lives. Nature is so harmonious, just helps each other, right? The sun helps the plant to grow, and, the water gets into the soil for it to grow. So it's kind of that way where you're, like you said, we breathe, we are able to support others breathe. And what better way to be in service for ourselves as well as other people than through these kind of initiatives. I think it's really wonderful. Thanks a lot, Manya, for doing such a great job. 2 lakhs is quite a lot of
thank you for just kind of helping make it happen also, because what I do plus what you do plus what Anisha is doing, for context, we have yoga practices, breathing combined with art therapy, your insights from forest therapy, connecting with nature and working with colors. We've really hoped to take care of body, mind and spirit in designing this program, and I hope that people can really experience the benefit of that.
Yeah, and thanks a lot for people who already registered. I think we're
Yeah.
almost full, right? And it's
Yeah.
amazing. Feel free to join in and spread the word across. And before we actually take up the Q&A part, would love to know if you have some kind of an advice as a natural color artist to give to others of how they
Sure.
could deepen their connection with nature during this time.
Sure. So I know that a lot of us would love more than anything to travel or to go to a place where you can really feel like you're amidst nature, to a green place maybe. I know I would really want to run away to a forest right now if I could, or to a beach or to the hills. Unfortunately, because of how crazy things are right now, it's we are safer at home. Other people are safer being where they are. But even while being at home, I think we don't need to feel limited or trapped if we just start to look for these little things that can bring us joy. So if I could suggest, maybe there is a plant growing in your house. Just see if you can spend a little time with that plant. Observe its color, observe its shape, observe how it behaves when you water it, how it looks maybe for some time during the day, how does it look at night. Or if you don't have any plants around you, maybe you could look out of your window and see if there are any birds you can see. Depending on where you live, maybe that's not an option, but finding some way of noticing, observing, putting your attention on something living can just transport us to a different place. So, it may even be a leaf, a spinach, a leaf from your kitchen. It may be a potato, it may be an onion, whatever you're using in your cooking as well. Just try and observe it for some time, right? And there are a bunch of activities I've shared on my IGTV videos and reels as well, which if you're feeling like you just need a quick de-stressor, that is available absolutely for free. Anybody can go and try it out and check it out. So I talk about using flowers as crayons, fruits as crayons. So whatever you have in your kitchen around you, you can make color out of it. You can just scribble and have fun with it and play with it. So these are my two tips. One is just try and observe what it is, what it looks like, feels like, smells like, because even that sensory connection can help you forget about anything that's worrying you for some time. And then when you start to make something with it, when you start to explore it in a new way, your imagination runs wild and you become a child again. So I think that playfulness, that spirit of play is something that can also help us through this difficult time.
Yeah. And it was so funny when you were sharing about this. I couldn't help but, connect with the plant behind me when I was seeing it in the video, just behind me.
Oh,
And
yours.
it feels
Oh,
like it's dancing, right? I mean, it's
yeah.
like nodding its head and it's
Yeah.
dancing. And I was like, oh, the plant seems to agree with you, saying that, yeah, just
Yeah.
check out the plants inside the house. It's
Yeah.
like as if it's moving slowly and dancing. So yeah, just bringing that childlike observation of even the colors, like even like I remember someone once mentioning that usually we color leaves only as green, but there are so many shades of leaves that once you start noticing,
Yeah.
it's mind-boggling. It could be brown, it could be spots of green, it could be so many different shades. So yeah, just observing things within our capacity, I think is a great tip to have. Yeah, and another, let's take up some. I did see some
Sure.
questions that had popped up.
Sure.
There was one on tertiary colors. Let's see where that was. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm getting your name right. It's Satabdi. Maybe she or he has asked, how can we create tertiary colors from natural dyes? You'll
Sure.
actually
So
have to
it is.
refresh me what tertiary colors are.
So it's like on the color wheel, right? You have your primary colors. Color theory says yellow, red, and blue are the primary colors. And then when you mix yellow and red, you get orange. When you mix blue and yellow, you get green. When you mix blue and red, you get purple. So these are secondary colors. And then tertiary colors is when you mix the two closest. So for instance, you can create variations from the secondary color. So if you have a more yellowish orange or a more reddish orange, so those are the two tertiary options. Or you have a more greenish, more bluish green, or a more yellowish green. So to answer your question, once you have the primary colors, any color that you can imagine can be created just with combinations of those three.
So even with natural colors, with just
It
your
Yeah,
flowers,
the mixing and all, it works a little bit different.
Okay, I think there was some internet connection. I thought it was from my end, but it looks like even Manya has dropped out. So yeah, we'll just wait for Manya to come back. We're almost towards the end. And in case you have any questions, feel free to jot down those questions when it comes to connecting with nature through natural colors. So she was just answering about tertiary colors. I'll just look back with any other questions. There's one question which is how to define nature. The nature's five elements which gives life with one hand and destroying with another hand. Baffling question ever for me. Okay, so yes, this is something that I could probably answer before Manya comes in. Defining nature is obviously a very personal thing because everything around is nature, including human beings. As far as the creation and destroying part, I think that's the cycle of how nature is. You know, it's cyclical in the sense that there is creation, and whatever gets created also gets destroyed. Everything has an expiry, life and death cycle, and if we just take it as that's how life is, instead of adding our moralistic values or the way humans tend to think of how things need to be immortal or they need to keep um, long lasting and things like that, but realize that everything will end and that's fine. And in fact, I see, um, contrary to what people might think, even the virus is part of nature. So the virus is also creating destruction, but that's how balance is maintained. If we were only having life and birth, then the pollution and population level of the earth would skyrocket. So there has to be a death also. So I don't know if this answers your questions, but answers your question, but I hope there's some answer to it. Let's see if there are any other questions. Thanks, Iti. Glad that you actually are resonating with this. Thanks, Reshma, for appreciating the initiative. Reshma also says that she was blessed to see Coppersmith today. It was quite close to my kitchen window. Yeah, I mean, you can actually connect with nature from inside your house. You don't really have to get out. Manu, yes, seems like she has gotten disconnected. Let me see if I can get her back. This is my first Insta Live, so even I don't know how well this works. Let's hope she's able to come back. Isha Khan has asked a question. I dye on fabric, but the colors not till bright when they're wet. They're more bright, but later when it's dry, its colors become light. Also want to know the colors are. Isha, can you elaborate on the second question that you asked of knowing the colors, how long we use? In the sense you're asking about the how long it'll last. Is that what you're checking out? Isha, I guess, of course, Manya would be the right person to share about the changes in color, but from attending her workshops, I do know that she says that it does change. The colors do change. People call it fading, but we call it as part of natural process. So what we'll do is, I got a message saying that Manya is unable to join back. I'm not too sure what's the reason, maybe some connection issue. But we will be putting this video on the IGTV, and I'll have Manya just share her inputs about this, wherein there are two questions that you've asked, Isha. One is on with fabric, how does the color change happen when it's bright when it's wet, but when it's dry, it becomes light. So you want to know a little more details about that, or whether you can continue keeping it bright, perhaps even when it's dry, and also how long-lasting colors are. Right. So these two questions I'll definitely put across to Manya. Are there any other questions that you would like Manya to respond to?
Hi, I am so
Manya,
sorry for that digital snafu. I
it's
got
okay.
disconnected and I had to go to a different location to be able to connect again.
Okay.
So
That's
looks like I
okay.
missed a
That's
few
fine.
questions.
Yeah, just a few
Yeah,
questions. I think one I kind of answered by myself, but that's okay.
sure.
The other question Isha has asked out is the brightness of colors, that changes when it is wet and when it's dry, and whether anything can be done about it. I'm doing this live for the first time. Can I actually add Isha on to the video here? Maybe she can ask it herself. Is that
I
possible?
think only two people can join at a time in these.
Okay, in the
Yeah,
Insta Live. Okay. So,
yeah.
Isha, in case we've not got your answer, your question correctly, feel free to add on more to the chat. So, that is one question that you wanted to know about the brightness of colors, and the other is about the how long do colors last?
Sure. So, Isha, could you clarify how you plan to use them? Is it on paper? Is it on fabric?
Fabric.
What is
Yeah, she's
it
written
on
fabric.
fabric?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically on fabric, the longevity of the color depends on three things. One is the dye source itself, because when you choose something which has a certain chemical composition and certain characteristics, for instance, if you look for dyes which have tannins, tannins are something which help the color to stay on the fabric. It's a built-in mordant. So mordanting is an important step when you use natural dyes on fabrics. So if you use something which is known to last for long, then automatically it will last for longer, versus something like, say, beetroot dye, which is known to be fugitive, or it changes when exposed to sunlight, it quickly fades. So first thing is selection of the dye itself is important. Second is how the dyeing process is done. There are definitely some steps that can give you better results than others. So doing that, and thirdly, how well we take care of it, right? So eventually it's also about how we wash it, how often we wash it, if it's being dried in the shade, certain care tips to make sure that we can help it last as long as possible. So a lot of people think that the color just disappears, or it's like how in the commercials where you have this vanish or tide and it just comes and removes all the color. People tend to think natural dyes just disappear. It's not that they go away, it's like they age over time, they change. And it's not always that they fade, they may also change depending on what they're interacting with, the pH of the water, they interact with the air. So this idea of them being living as well, like you and me, they are living colors. So they will also interact with the elements of nature like you and I are on a daily basis, and then they change. So some colors actually become darker when they are placed in sunlight, or they change. Especially pomegranate and even indigo has a way of changing with time, changing with every use. They do change. So I would call it as more of a change rather than a fading. So it's more about adjusting our expectations to the fact that nothing really remains the same forever, and how do we embrace it at every stage, and how do we find beauty in it at every stage rather than thinking it's a flaw, because even that thinking comes from comparing it to maybe a synthetic dye or something which we are more used to. But actually, this is the way of nature. It was not meant to look the same forever. So, just like we can't stop ourselves from turning a year older, we can't stop the color from changing.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what someone had asked about nature being destructive also, and that's the cyclic part of nature, right? There is life and
Yeah.
death. You can't have
Yeah.
just one aspect, otherwise balance is not mentioned. And I think I remember you mentioning somewhere saying that, people call it fading when the colors start reducing, right? And it has such a negative connotation, and we're like, oh, it should not fade. It should
Yeah.
remain nice and bright, and that's how advertisements also put it across, saying your colors, whether it's painting of the house or the clothes, it will remain fresh, and
Yeah.
that's a very sad way of looking at it, because we all do age, we can't remain young all the time, right? So there's just so
Yeah.
much of thing about fading, but actually it's a natural you can actually see it as a different color altogether.
Yeah, it's an
They're just
evolution.
shading.
I like to
Yeah,
think of it as an
exactly.
evolution because it is the journey of that color's life. So if we have a certain life and a certain journey, and if you look at it, like a plant grows, a tree sheds leaves, it has a season of not bearing any leaves, flowers, and fruit, and then it comes back. So it is a cyclical process. And even if you look at a leaf after it falls and how it changes color, there is a certain beauty in that aging and how it dries and how it then eventually disintegrates and decomposes and is still useful in some way. It becomes manure or nutrition for the plants below it. It goes back into the soil. So if we look at even when nothing in nature stays the same way for more than a day or so, even the hibiscus which is bloomed today is going to fall tomorrow. How do we then expect the color which we're extracting from these sources to stay constant? Because it is our illusion that things are constant. I know it sounds really preachy and philosophical, but it is true. It
It
is
is. It's a
true.
fact of life. Yeah,
It's a fact of
impermanence is a fact of
life.
life. You
Yeah.
can't have rainy season all throughout, even if you love it, or you can't have summer all throughout. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is a fact of life.
But I guess the more practical answer that the person who is asking, I forgot her name, sorry,
Isha
Isha, but
Khan.
Isha was asking for is the answer is about 30 to 35 washes. You can expect to use it before there's any significant change, and you may want to do something else to that fabric or garment. So I can see she said she used beetroot and turmeric. Yeah, so those are known for being fugitive or known for kind of fading away quickly. So if you're interested in maybe doing it in a structured way, you can check out my Intro to Natural Dyeing class. There we do cover some dye sources which are more reliable and work really well and are known to last as well. So even by trial and error, you can get there, or by researching on your own, also you can get there. It's just that I've tried to shorten that process by making all of it available in one place.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Iti Gupta also says it's amazing to watch everything natural as spiritual. Exactly. I think spiritual and nature are almost one in some ways. And Satabdi, you were asking for tertiary. So I hope you got the answer for your question that Manya did answer. And Shilpa says, I believe the liquid which oozes from banana leaf is a very good natural dye. I have accidentally stained my clothes and realized its importance. That's amazing, Shilpa. I think, yeah, discoveries like these are the best, right? The mistakes and, the trials and experiments that happen. So, and I love the word that she used. It stained my clothes, but actually she saw it as a different color that can be part of the process of natural dyeing.
Interesting. I should check that out. I've never tried banana leaves.
Yeah, there's just so much to learn, right? From nature, it's almost like a never-ending course. We can
It is,
keep learning.
which is why I think it suits me because I get bored of doing the same thing all the time. With this, there is no option of me getting bored. There's like so much to discover, to explore. There is, yeah, like you said, it's a never ending course. I'm always learning, and that's what I like. And that's what I think um, my grandfather also did, and I admire that a lot because he never sat back and said, okay, I know now how teak plants grow or whatever, I know how this works. He was always on to the next thing, trying to figure out the next thing. And maybe that's how our ancestors lived as well, constantly trying to figure out new things, find answers, and not just kind of concluding that okay, we know everything.
We know exactly. So having that humility, just like nature does, right? So having that humility, saying, "Hey, there's more." So Satabdi has also mentioned that he or she got disconnected at that time.
Okay.
So when you were talking about the tertiary colors, so maybe if you could just briefly in a nutshell, and Satabdi, we put this on IGTV, so you could always go back to listening to it. But just for your curiosity's sake, maybe she can mention it in a line or two before we officially end the live chat.
Yeah, I think Instagram might actually kick us off because when we reach that
Really?
1 hour mark, it closes the session.
Oh, then you
So,
have 20 seconds.
okay. Then, okay, so very quickly, tertiary colors is something you get by mixing the primary colors. Maybe you can DM me because I'm not sure where you want to apply this on paper or fabric, and then I can answer it in more detail. But just so we don't get kicked off, I would like to give you space to conclude.
Thanks a lot, Manya. It was really fun, and I hope everyone who watched it also had fun and your questions were answered. Feel free to ask us more questions if at all it comes up later on for you when you're experimenting. And of course, Manya is always available with her courses, which are so comprehensive. It's easy to understand, and you don't have to be an expert in colors or in nature or expert in fabrics or anything like that. So anyone and everyone can really learn a lot from her in the most simplest of ways. And yeah, we look forward to having more sessions and maybe collaborations together so that we could really serve people to connect with nature more deeply. So thanks a lot, Manya, for spending your time and sharing your experience, your wisdom. It was a lot of fun knowing you
Thank you.
more.
I loved this. I loved seeing all the connections that happened so organically on the call as we were talking.
Yeah,
So thank you,
thanks.
Vaishnavi, for having me. This was fun. And it's always, I learn a lot talking to you. And thank you, everyone, for being a part of this session.
Yes, thanks a lot. Anisha says, I'm very passionate towards this work, but when I do, then so many people not believing me, they said it's not long lasting. How you
Yeah.
show your work. Yeah. So,
That can be discouraging or disappointing at first. Definitely, I would, maybe that's a topic that we can talk about a different day, and I would like to talk about that. But to give you a very, hopefully, this gives you a perspective. Not everyone's going to get it right away because there are all kinds of thoughts and perspectives in the world. So just trust that the right kind of people, will understand your message, and slowly you can work on creating awareness so that more people get it. But it's not something that we can force on anyone. They will in due time understand it, maybe when it becomes more mainstream. But for now, if you believe in what you're doing and if you have the conviction, just keep talking about it, keep doing what you're doing, and know that there are people out there who will understand and resonate with what you're doing.
yeah, absolutely. I totally resonate people when they don't understand, they like to make fun of it or they like to say that it doesn't work. But like Manya mentioned, just going ahead with doing what you believe in without any validation or expectation or validation from others, I think, and you have to keep doing it. So
Yeah.
when I started nature therapy, there would be sometimes one person who will show up for a session. Sometimes no one turns up for a session. So I would just say it as, okay, I'm the only participant today, and I would go and connect with nature. So yeah, in the beginning it can be tough, but once the ball starts rolling because you believe in yourself or the work that you're doing, I think it would catch up soon. Yeah. And I'm glad Instagram didn't kick us out despite it
Yeah.
going beyond 60
Yeah.
minutes. So grateful for Instagram, but I had a lot of fun. And yeah, thanks a lot, Earthling and Cosmos. Glad you also enjoyed the session as much as we enjoyed. And those who are watching the IGTV later on, hope you also gained some insights of how you could connect in a different way with nature through colors. And we shall officially end. And let's see what comes up as the next episode of connecting in different ways to nature. Yeah.
I'm
Over and
excited for the
out.
next ones as well. Thank you. Thank
Yeah, even I'm excited. I don't know what's going to come out. It's going to be a surprise for me also. But yeah, there are so many people and so many topics that I have come across of, yeah, different ways of connecting to nature. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how that shapes up. All right, bye everyone.
you.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye,
Take
everyone.
care.
Bye.